What if my music doesn't make a difference to the people living in this life? Yeah, what if I'm a good enough writer, but I don't play my cards right? What up, you know what's up, it's Don7. We have finally done it. We are finally on Spotify, we are finally on Apple, and it has only been a couple of days as of the date of this recording since we have released on there. But so far, the support that I've gotten from you guys is absolutely amazing. I do want you guys to share it a little more. I haven't seen a lot of people sharing it. My request from you guys is to please just share it some more, because the more people it reaches, the more we can grow as a family. So thank you guys so much for the support that you've given me so far. As you can see, we have a little bit of a change of scenery. I have the house to myself this weekend, or this week, I guess. So I will be recording the video out here just for a little change of scenery, and I get to move around a little bit because I'm out of my desk area. Today is another 7 song stories, and I figured it was only appropriate to talk about the most important song, and that's Fallen, because Fallen is the first commercial single, and it will forever mark that in my life. The criteria for this one is going to be a little different, obviously, because I can't talk about what it meant then and what happened after, because we're in the what's happening after, and what it means to me now is the same as what it meant then, because it's been so recent since I recorded it, wrote it, whatever else like that. We're going to focus a little more on the story behind Fallen and that kind of stuff. So, 7 song stories. Fallen. Fallen was written at Nimbus, because how it all happened was we were sitting in class, and at the time we weren't even allowed in the studios. It was so early into the year, like we were still just getting to know each other, like my classmates and the professors and everything else like that. So we barely even like knew each other, and we were just working out of the business class because we weren't allowed in the studios yet. In order to be allowed in the studios, you had to go through a practical and understand the concepts of the consoles and whatever else like that. But anyways, we were in the business classroom, and one of the guys who I had been talking to in the smoke pit and on lunch and stuff like that, he came up to me and another 2 artists that are in that class, and he said, you know, I have this sick beat, what do you think? And he shows it to me. I think, this is absolutely amazing, what do you want to do with it? He says, I want some of the artists from Nimbus on this. I said, okay, well, if you're asking me, like, I'm totally down to get on it. He got the other 2 artists, and he said, hey, like, I'm going into Studio X later today, and you know, I'd love to work on it with you guys. We went into the Studio X just after that class, actually, and it was actually a really funny day in there. There was a lot of jokes and stuff like that. Got to know the guys really well, some great guys, and we just got to work. So he started playing the beat over, and I wrote the 3rd verse first, actually. I wrote falling down, ever since you came around, put me down beneath the ground, made me look a fucking clown. I wrote that part before anything else. And then one of the other artists was in charge of the hook, because he had more like a singing voice. He started writing the hook, and he says, I think I'm lost, I think I'm fallen. And I said, that's great. And then he started going off on a little bit of like different ideas, and so I started like picking out some of the parts that I liked. The other artist hadn't really done anything yet. He was trying to find where like his vibe fit in the song. We finally got like the first 4 bars of the hook done, and then it was the end of the day, because we were really struggling to like pull it all together that day, because everybody was kind of still getting to know each other's process and whatever else like that. So we ended the day there, and I went home and was obviously ecstatic about the fact that I was writing my first commercial song, even though it was a collab, and I was super excited. I couldn't even like get the words out when I got home. I was like, I'm finally writing it. I'm finally writing the first song that's gonna go out. The next day, we're back in class. I'm saying to the guys like, hey, let's go back up and write again. Like, let's get this done, right? And that was when one of them said, you know what, I'm really sorry, but this song doesn't fit my vibe, and I can't find any words to write on it, so I'm gonna have to give this one up. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then it was down to the producer, me, and the other artist. And the other artist at that point was kind of hesitant to keep going with it. So at some point throughout the entire process, the other artist had backed out, and so then it was just the producer and me, which meant that now it was fully in my control of what we had. And you know, as sad as it is, I kind of like it that way, because when I'm writing a song, I have a vision for how I want that song to go. And collaborating with other artists, I'm open to their ideas and stuff, but I also love to be in control of my parts. It kind of turned out in my favor, but also without, because it would have been an amazing experience to collaborate with those guys. They're great people, but you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. So later that day, the producer and I went into the studio and again kept writing. I wrote the first verse, the the first verse out. That was all in the same studio a day later or whatever, and then a week went by because both of us got a little busy with school projects and whatever else, and then I finally wrote the second verse. After that, it was a matter of practicing it and perfecting it, and I finally found someone to sing the hook. And Lauren is actually somebody who I've worked with in the past. It's just been hard to disclose her name. And I told the producer, I said, look, it's time to go, like it's time to get this recorded. So at that point still, we weren't allowed to record in the studios. So it was a little difficult because we had to swallow a bullet saying we have access to these like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but we're gonna record it in a home studio. We hooked up a day where it was me, the producer, and then Beto, and we said, let's record the verses today. So I go in and I record the verses. And we sent it out to Beto again to listen to, even though we hadn't had the hook yet. And he listened to it and he says, there's a couple of spots there where it's like, the dude has amazing ears. Like I can't even fathom how he heard some of these things because I couldn't hear them, but he said in this part on the second verse, someone put something down on the desk. And sure enough, if you mute everything else but the vocals, there's a spot there where it's like, yeah, someone put something down. He said, okay, we need to re-record these two parts. And I was like, okay, cool. So it was all in the second verse. So we just re-recorded the whole second verse. And then a couple of weeks after that, we brought Lauren in, and she was excited because every single time Lauren and I record, it's always in a different place. The first time we recorded was at my house in Maple Ridge, my mom's house. And then we recorded in the princess room, and then we recorded in my basement closet studio, and now we've recorded at someone else's home studio. So every time I record with her, it's always at some different location, and it's always so inconvenient for everybody, but it is what it is because it always turns out really good. So we finally got all that done. We didn't want to write a bridge for the song, so we wanted to have, something to kind of fit the theme of the song. The song, which I'll get into in a little bit. We wanted to have something that kind of fit the theme. So we had my girlfriend, Jessie, there at the time of all the recording of the hook. She wasn't there for the verses, but she was there for when the hook was being recorded. Tensions were a little high because, we're pushing to get this song out. And we said, Jess, we need you to act out as if you're mad at me. It turned out really well because I just had her go into another room and call me. I put the phone up to the microphone and I said, baby, go ham on whatever you want to say to me. And she's like, okay. And so then we clicked record, and then she goes, I can't believe you, you're such a fucking idiot. And I'm like, oh geez, here we go. It actually turned out really well. It was her first time on recording on any of my songs, and so every time we listen to it, she's like, oh my god, my voice is so cringy. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's perfect for what we needed. So then we sent it off to Beto, and he did a mix and a master. I'm pretty sure he did 5 different versions of a mix and 5 different versions of a master. Here we are for the terms of the production. After that, Tone was the name of the producer guy, and you met him in one of the vlogs when we were in the studio. We worked out what the percentages of the cuts would be, if any money was made off of the song, and what it would look like if I was to perform it, etc., etc. That was the story of the production. Let's get into the story of what it's kind of about. Fallen doesn't really have one set story. It's kind of a combination of multiple stories with the same theme. The first verse, it's about falling in love too fast. It's, when you love someone, you think you love someone so much, like, you just met them, you believe in love at first sight, or should I walk in again? Like that kind of thing. It's like you meet this amazing person and you're so like blinders on, like this person is amazing, and you don't see any of the flaws because you fell in love so fast. So it goes, fell in love, you an angel from above, fixed it all with just a hug, think of what we could become. It's kind of like me in a story in the past, kind of falling in love too fast, trying to convince them, like, we could be amazing, we could be a power couple, whatever, right? Nothing else matters except for us, kind of thing. That was what the first verse was about. Onto a similar story where it was like, yes, we fell in love too fast, but not too fast, was the second verse. The second verse was talking about going down, can you help me off the ground? We were yelling way too loud, now we gone and drew a crowd. Basically saying that we fell in love too fast, and now we found the flaws within each other that we hate about each other, and we can't get over them, so it's causing a lot of arguments and fights and whatever else like that. So that's where the second verse kind of came in. There wasn't a lot of story to it. It was just kind of like to support the first and lead into the third. The real reliant parts was on the first and the third verse. And like I said, I wrote the third verse anyway, so everything kind of built forwards. It was weird, instead of building backwards. With the bridge part, with Jessie yelling, kind of suited the theme of, like, everyone's angry, tensions are high, you know, someone screwed up on something. Third verse talks about falling down ever since you came around, realizing that this person was not for me at all. It's not that the person was a horrible person, but the person was not meant for me and my lifestyle. Do you think it's easy to be me? Everything is not so pleasing, it's deceiving. You thought that my life was so glamorous and amazing, but you know, it turns out that I put a lot of work into the things that I do. This is from a whole different story now. Like all three verses came from a different part of a story within my life. And so it's a little bit like kind of jumbled together to make one big story. I love how it turned out. I love that people understood the concept of the song. It's one of the first ones that I think has been like right up in people's faces without actually expressing it. I'm telling you that I fell in love too fast. I'm telling you that now I see the problems with the person, and now I'm telling you that the person was not meant for me at all. It turned out really well, and I'm so happy with how it played out. I'm so happy that Lauren could be on my first song. What it will mean to me, because I'm not going to go into what it meant then and what it meant now, what it will mean to me is it will always mark that this was my first song commercially. This was the first song that went out on Spotify and Apple Music that solidified me as an artist, not just a SoundCloud rapper or a YouTube rapper. It solidified me as an artist. I couldn't have done it without the amazing people around me, and especially not without you guys. So I just want to say thank you so much. And this has been another 7 Song Stories. There will be plenty more to come, trust me. I got a lot of songs in the banks right now. I got a lot of collaborations happening. So I got a lot of work coming, and I got a couple more songs that are ready to go. I'm actually working on some cover art later today, hopefully, to get some of these out and in the world pretty quick. Without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. Do the usual: like, sub, comment, and share. And as always, this has been Don the 7, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out to the Empire.